Welcome to Daily Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good morning to each and every one of you. A Wednesday morning, a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for being a part of our Daily Devotion family. Glad you're here. And I'm just going to try today. Hope, Suzanne, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try not to do any corny jokes. I'm not going to laugh at my own feeble attempts of humor. I'm just going to behave myself today. That is my goal today, to behave myself. I just want one Wednesday where I behave myself. This is it. This is that Wednesday. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I wish you a great day, and I hope and pray all is well with you. And just remember this, King Jesus still rides high, and he's on his throne. And thanks for being a part of this. Thomas, Ashley, Nadia, you guys are the greatest. It was last Sunday morning. I mentioned the famous mountaintop speech. Most people remember the I Have a Dream speech, Martin Luther King. Mountaintop speech is on the night before he was assassinated, is perhaps his second most famous speech. But there's another one that I really like, and it's called the Street Sweeper speech. Yeah. Martin Luther King said, now the thing about life, or the length of life, after accepting ourselves, our tools, we must discover what we're called to do. And once we discover it, we should set out to do it with all the strength, all the power that we have in our systems. After we've discovered what God's called us to do, after we've discovered our life's work, we should set out to do that work so that the living, the dead, or the unborn could not do it any better. Martin Luther King said, what I'm saying to you this morning, my friends, is even if it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, go out and sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Handel and Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all of the host of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. He would go on to say in that speech, if you can't be the top pine on the mountain, then be a good little scrub in the valley. If you can't be a highway, be a trail. If you can't be a sun, be a star. Be the best of whatever you are. I love that speech because I think it encapsulates so much of Martin Luther King's life, but also of just the American work ethic, of just living life with dignity, shatters the secular sacred, the so-called secular sacred divide, that the sacred exists on Sunday, the sacred exists in the top floor of our minds and hearts, but doesn't live out on the city streets. Whatever we're doing, we do it with all of our might. And that is what I want to call passion. And I believe that passion is quite often the missing link. You remember the so-called missing link. Missing link. All my life they've discovered for this missing link that connects the primates and forms the so-called evolutionary chain, the chain between the apes and humanity. And yeah. I mean, you see that. You see that. This is, and if I was as juvenile, you remember recently I said something like, hey, we be the monkeys. I don't do that stuff anymore. You are seeing a new and improved Ken Gurley. He is not going to make lame attempts at humor today. He will not. He is staying focused. Be the best of whatever you can be. I think one of the challenges people face in life is the lack of excelling desire over commitment. What social psychologists are calling today resilience and grit. That to get from point A to point B, to have this finishing faith, this enduring hope, there is a missing link that separates the ho-hum from that which excels. It's what I call passion, the missing link. There's a passage in 2 Corinthians 9, one of my favorite books of the Bible, probably my favorite that Paul wrote, because we find out more about Paul in 2 Corinthians than we do in any other book that he wrote. But he said in 2 Corinthians 9, for as touching the ministering to the saints, it's superfluous. You don't get to say the word superfluous often. Go ahead and just say it, superfluous. It is superfluous for me to write to you. I mean, superfluous, that's almost as fun a word to say as Mesopotamia. Yeah, just go ahead and say it, Mesopotamia. It's a cornucopia of linguistic delights to say words like superfluous and Mesopotamia. Okay, all right, I'll get back on track. He said, I know the forwardness of your mind, which I boast. I tell everybody about it. I told Macedonia, I told Achaia. Your zeal, your passion has provoked very many. What's described here is what set the Corinthians apart. Now, I want to tell you, if you listen to Bible scholars today, those poor Corinthians, they just get trashed. They just get trashed. They get minimalized. I know there was immaturity in the Corinthian church. I know there was division in the Corinthian church. I mean, you open 1 Corinthians 1 and wham, you hit the divisions that was there. I know that it was an immoral area. To Corinthianize meant to prostitute, meant to defile, to become evil. I know that. But one thing that Paul said, you just got to hand it to those Corinthians. There was a zeal. There was a passion that inspired so many people. I was working on a project early this summer, and I want to tell you that my mind was drifting, and I had YouTube on, and I had gone over there to correct something on our site there, and it was just cycling through little racing, track and field events, and I didn't really understand what was going on. Wasn't paying any attention to it. It was just going on in the background, but then I heard the announcer in just a real low muted tone said, okay, the Pacers dropped out. Well, that got me curious. What is a pacer? And I looked it up, and I was amazed to find that in races leading up through the Olympic trials, before the Olympics, they're not found in the Olympics themselves, that when they're wanting to establish a world record, they put a pacer out in front of the field that runs at the pace in the opening laps that would set a world record. What it does, it pushes the rest of them forward. In other words, it makes sure they're staying on world record pace. Very few world records are set in the Olympics because there are no pacers in front of them driving the teams on. The pacer, or the pace setter, is called the rabbit. The rabbit. And now I have never been to a greyhound track, but I know that they have mechanical rabbits that will lead those graceful hounds around an oval-shaped track. To make the dogs race in the right direction, they are trained to chase this lifelike mechanical rabbit as it zips along the track in front of them. The rabbit is mechanically controlled, where it stays just in front of the dogs. They can never quite catch up to it. It was at a Florida greyhound track a few years ago, and a race was being run. The dogs stood ready, guns sounded, gates open. Sure enough, there goes that bionic rabbit out there. The dogs get in pursuit. But at the first turn, something went wrong. There was an electrical short in the system, and the rabbit came to a complete stop, exploded, went up in flames. Now, it was a mechanical rabbit. It was a mechanical rabbit. So I don't want you grieving right now. I mean, hair. It was just a mechanical rabbit. I'm serious today. I'm serious. All that was left was just a bit of black fur dangling on the end of a wire. And with no rabbits to chase, the dogs got bewildered. They didn't know what to do. And according to news reports, many of them just stopped running, lay down the track. 2 dogs, so frenzied in the chase, just ran into a wall. Another dog started chasing its tail, and the rest of the greyhounds just stopped running, laid down, and howled at the people in the stands. Not a single dog finished the race because the object of their pursuit had gone up in flames. You and I, we need a goal. We need a goal that is beyond us. We need a goal that keeps us going. We need a rabbit out in front of us. We need an objective. We are taught to set our eyes, to our gaze, to stay them on Christ Jesus, to keep the end of this thing in mind. That wasn't that what Stephen Covey said? One of the greatest habits of people is to begin with the end in mind. Run this race to finish it. There is a power in having this pace setter of passion out in front of us because it keeps us moving, keeps us going. That's right, Yvonne Hair. I'm sorry. I can't make it through one devotion. I'm trying. That's right, Etta. I'm trying. Give me an E for effort. I'm just not trying hard enough. That's it. You got to keep passion out in front of you. There's tremendous power in passion. The word most used for passion in the KJV is zeal. Zeal. It means red hot, glowing, bubbling. It can mean an intense drive or conviction. It can speak of intense desire that compels action. That's it. Passion is what moves us to do great things. I took 2 years of French, and it's still Greek to me, but let me see if I can pronounce her name, Jeanne de La Fontaine. She wrote, man is so made that when anything fires his soul, impossibilities vanish. I like that. Paul praised the passion, the zeal. He said, your passion, Corinth, has provoked many to step up their game. Others have caught wind of how you give of yourself, and it's accelerated. It's become the catalyst. I live along the Houston Ship Channel, and you can't go up and down this ship channel without seeing the pyrolysis towers and what's called down here cat crackers. It's where they take the oil or the chemicals and they separate them into their components, but they need a catalyst to do it. They have to put a catalyst in the tower. They have to add heat. There's got to be something provoking the change. What Paul said to Corinth, you've been the catalyst for change. I don't want to just mark time. I just want to live life. I don't just want to pull days off the calendar. I want to be a change agent. I want to see change happen. George Whitefield, an early American evangelist, was asked the secret of his ministry. It was used in the Great Awakening. He said, I spend time on my knees asking for fire in my life. Billy Sunday was asked the secret of his ministry, and he said, I ask God to set me on fire and let people watch me burn. There's tremendous power and passion. Years ago, there were a group of people lining up for a job in a Methodist church in London. One candidate was asked, how do you describe yourself? He said, well, I'm shy, I'm quiet, I'm introvert. I'll probably never set the Thames on fire, Thames being the river that runs through London. I'll never set the Thames on fire. The interviewer responded, said, I'm not interested to know if you could set the Thames on fire. What I want to know is, if I picked you up by the scruff of your neck and I dropped you in that river, would it sizzle? I think that's what we need to ask of ourselves. Do we sizzle? Do we sizzle? Hear Moses as he cried out for Israel. That's passion. Hear Nehemiah as he rebuilds the walls. That's passion. Listen to Paul desiring to preach the gospel. That's passion. Passion affects everything we do. That's the pace setter. That's the rabbit in our lives. Start a fire, and it'll warm anything that comes in contact with it. Nothing goes through the fire untouched, unmoved, unchanged. In the same way, passion affects everything to do. This is what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 9. Whatever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there's no work, no device, no knowledge, no wisdom in the grave where you're going. In other words, you got a shelf life on this thing. Passion is what moves us to do things. Your life, a passion-filled life, is productive. Your schedule. Why don't you spend time? Linda, Sissy, why don't you spend time, not marking time, but spend time on the things you're passionate about? Your giving. Give to what you care about. Your worship. In the Old Testament, worship and fire went hand in hand. The hot coals, the censers with the incense. Your work for God. Moses stood at a burning bush that was not consumed. What a picture of passion. That's where he heard, let my people go. Your witness is a holy glow about you. King James says, be fervent in the spirit. Moffat's translation says, maintain the glow. Passion is that missing link. You show me a passionate person, I'll show you a changed attitude, behavior, relationship. Passion is contagious. Yeah. You're not going to get it in a 3-point lecture. You're not going to get it in a poem. It's caught. Works like a magnet. It draws some, it pushes others away. Passion will propel people to greatness in life. I like Gallup studies, and I cite them often. George Gallup did the closest thing many years ago to a worldwide survey. He surveyed 13,000 people in 130 countries. All of those people had once been in church, but no longer went to church. He asked them this question. What would need to happen for you to go back to church? Do you know what the overwhelming first choice was? Passion in the lives of leadership. Passion. No wonder 85% of churches in America are not growing. 99% are not growing in relation to their population. Could it be that people don't see passion in our lives? I believe in the apostolic message, but I also believe in the same fire that fell at Pentecost. My pastor, Billy Gurley, used to say, I've lived too long in the fire that I can't live in the smoke. I just can't blow smoke at people. I'm not content there. I need that fire, a passion that will take me beyond myself, lead me to a higher level. I think that's why people don't care for it, really. No, that they would rather go to a First Church of the Frigidaire. They would rather kind of just go through the motions because passion scares them. It really scares them. It frightens them. Yeah. Hey, you want to know? Hey, Tyson, you want to know what frightened me as a kid? I want to tell you what frightened me. My dad's, I believe it was his oldest sister, Leela. Leela was an Assembly of God pastor. She pastored in a little area called Soda, Texas. Soda. East Texas. And ever so often she would have a brush arbor revival. Now, you hear all these romantic things about brush arbors. I want to tell you something. Driving up a sandy, dusty dirt road up into the behind the pine curtain of East Texas, dark, 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 and going to a brush arbor with kerosene lanterns hanging off and benches made of slatted pews that if you didn't stand up at the same time, you were going to scream. You were going to get pinched. Watching the bugs fly in the light of those lanterns. Looking at the shadows, imagining, I don't know, Sasquatch, panthers. They always talked about panthers in East Texas. It scared me half to death as a kid. I should have been scared straight by going to those brush arbor meetings. Yeah. Maybe that's really what happened back then. Maybe it wouldn't move the spirit. They were just all scared. Maybe they were all scared. I was scared. Passion. We look to our past and we see passion. We don't see eloquence. We don't see a lot of wisdom. We see what we think is foolishness, but it was zeal. Yes, the Bible would say sometimes it was zeal without knowledge. But I would rather, I'm going to get plain. I would rather tether a lion than prod a turtle. I would rather try to keep passion in check than to try to fire someone up. That passion is all in Scripture. Rhoda, you remember the girl that kept telling the people, Simon Peter, your answered prayer is at the door. You remember what they said of her? She's mad. She's gone crazy. Yes. When Jesus said, I have the power to lay my life down and take it up again, you remember what the Pharisees said? He's mad. He's crazy. Paul, when he testified before Festus, they said he's mad. But a miracle is knocking at your door. Resurrection power is available. You've got a testimony, but you need that same zeal. That passion is the missing link that's going to push you over. I think it's time to get passionate. It's time to get very passionate. Isaiah, we love Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born. We say it every Christmas. Yeah. But 9:7. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end on the throne of David, on his kingdom, to order it established with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. And then the last words, and the zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The passion of God. God's kingdom expands through zeal, through passion. It expands the borders. It's what moves us beyond the ordinary and moves us. What can I say about passion? It's got to be sought. You seek after it with all your heart. It must be caught. Get in the company of passionate people. Get away from those wet blankets and those critics. It must be bought. You're going to pay a price for it. Yes. Why do people lack passion? Let me mention these real quick, and then I've got to come to a close. First, everything's become familiar. Satan's great agent of familiarity is sly and devious. Can't take your salvation away from you. Just makes you take it for granted. Can't take your home away from you. Just makes it dull. Paints everything with a gray coat of complacency. Everything's routine. Yeah. Yes. Everything's just become familiar. Here's the second reason we don't have passion. We crave others' acceptance and approval. We all need to be loved and needed, but the enemy would like for us to believe that if people don't like who we are, what we do, we're going to be rejected. And so we'll go along to get along. Don't trade passion for popularity. You'll become like Laodicea, neither hot nor cold. Here's the third reason people lack passion, because they have no purpose beyond themselves. There's not anything in their near or distant horizon. I've learned people long enough. I've seen men work 12-hour days, blue collar, work hard, exhausted, come home from work, but it's bowling night. And they love bowling. And they get excited to go bowl. We get passionate about things. It's time to get passionate about the right thing. And then the fourth reason people don't have passion is just pure apathy. Apathy. I love that word. The Greek prefix means without. Pathos, without passion. Apathetic, passionless people. What once caused our hearts to beat faster now barely affects us. As Ephesus, we've left our first love, seduced by the secondary. God's no longer in first place, he's in second place. You got to get it back. You got to get it back. I love that passage of scripture. While I was musing, the fire burned within me. I love that verse. Stir up the gift that is on the inside of thee. That's it. And you'll find the missing link. You'll find the thing that will push you over to success. It's what you need. You need it so desperately in your life. While I was musing, the fire burned. Jeremiah said, I'm just going to shut up. I'm not going to say anything. I'm tired of it. Tired of people treat me the way they treat me. Been rebuked, scorned. Yeah. He said, but it was like a fire shut up within me. It's that fire, that passion that separates us from answered prayer and all that we need in God. I've gone too long. But I've largely behaved myself. I mean, give me an E for effort. All right. Okay. Like, follow Facebook, share, subscribe, YouTube. Jump over to KenGurley.com. Check us out there. Going to be on KYCC in just a few moments. You guys are the bomb. You're the best. Get out there on that track and run. Run with all of your heart. Love God with all of your heart, soul. That's passion. And that's the missing link. God bless you. Thank you for being a part of our daily devotion family.
Thank you for sharing in Daily Devotion with Ken Gurley. We pray this ministry has been a source of encouragement and strength to you. Please be mindful that your financial support enables us to meet with you each day. To give a donation or connect with us, visit our website at kengurley.com. There you will also find the latest books, podcasts, and resources. Blessed 90 Days to Change Your World is Pastor Gurley's latest book. You can get your copy of this life-changing book at kengurley.com. May God's favor rest on you in every way until we meet again.